So this is how I've looked at attitudes and behavior. So in several cases, behavior changes first and then attitudes. And that's Byron Sharp's argument, and I see this in several places. The other way around, I also saw several times. So yes, I'm originally from Belgium. Whoa, here we go. Cheers. Getting out there, right? And I've seen it both ways, and it comes from my analysis, right? So with in my field, I use what is called Granger causality after the late Sir Clive Granger, also a Nobel Prize winner. But so basically, Granger said, look, if things are changing, and by the way, causality is a very philosophical concept, right? But in a time series, if you see X changing before Y changes and not the other way around, we can say something about temporal causality. So this is how I've looked at attitudes and behavior. So in several cases, behavior changes first and then attitudes. And that's Byron Sharp's argument, and I see this in several places. So for instance, private label store brands, right? I've been studying them a lot. And so you can try very much to change the perception of your store brand. But in certain countries, people are very just brand image conscious and they still won't try. So in those cases, it's much more effective to just get them to sample the brand. You give away free sample, or you do a pay what you want scheme, right? That they can get it for free, but then they can decide themselves how much they want to pay you afterwards, which is really cool, by the way. So if you get it in the hands of people and then they taste it and they're like, oh my God, this is at least as good as the leading national brand. So that is much better the way to go. The other fun way I saw this was with Diet Coke in Spain. So I had like 10 years of Spanish data from Counter, and it was kind of monthly attitude metrics about people's awareness, consideration, love for the brand, and also how much everything sold and their prices and so forth. And so in the middle of the data period, Coke Zero was introduced. You remember Coke Zero, right? So it comes in, and for some reason, it captures half of the market. It was just incredible, right? It was mostly guys that switched, it's black and everything. But also several women. And so I had been drinking Diet Coke from '97. From the moment I joined UCLA, I got addicted to them. And then I also suddenly switched, to Coke Zero. So what you see in the data, and this is fascinating, and so my studies, my tests show that you right away see that Diet Coke sales kind of half in Spain. It's very subtle. But if you ask people, do you know Diet Coke? Do you like them? For several months, they were still saying, yes, we like them, because I remember kind of, liking the taste. But then after a few months, you see that dropping. So attitudes were lagging sales, and reasonably, it's because people are like, when you ask them a question, they think through their recent behavior, like, do I have Diet Coke in my fridge? Did I buy it recently? Oh, if I haven't, I must not like it. And so people want this consistency, right? So the other way around, I also saw several times. So, in cars, in a lot of more kind of higher involvement products, right? Which is typically the one that for instance, the Ehrenberg Bauhaus Institute does not focus on, right? They have typically fast-moving consumer goods. In the more higher involvement product, if I try to sell you my Pauwels bank and for you to get a mortgage with me or to put your deposit money, I really have to first change your attitude. I have to make sure that you know my brand, that you know what I stand for and so forth. And so in so many cases, and we can show that with tests, attitudes change first. And then down the line, people say, oh, now we're in the buying situation for a bank. So yes, because we now know and trust you, we are willing to consider you, and some of this will convert into customers. So there's tests to at least temporarily show that, and it really depends on the situation, and kind of how involved people are in the category really matters, right? If I want to sell you a Pauwels chewing gum, if I get distribution, I may just need one exposure to get you to try my chewing gum. But I will need maybe 8, 10, 12 exposures, maybe both online and offline, before you're actually going to become a customer of my bank. So that's a key difference.